I need the money tomorrow, my daughter, Emily demanded, handing me her husband's $500,000 debt. And don't be late, he added Michael. I just smiled. All right. 4 hours later, I was at the airport. When they arrived to collect the money, they found the door locked and a box. They opened it and screamed. Betrayal! Revenge! Justice! It begins, before continuing. Please, subscribe to William's Revenge Stories and write in the comments what time it is where you are right now. The doorbell rang 3 times in rapid succession, each chime more insistent than the last. I put down my whiskey and the quarterly reports, already knowing who was in my driveway. Through the study window, I saw their luxury white electric car gleaming under the security lights. Emily only rang the bell like that when she needed money. I walked through the marble foyer, passing by family photos that suddenly seemed like artifacts from someone else's life. Emily at 5 years old, missing her front teeth. Emily at 18, at her high school graduation. Emily at 28, on her wedding day. Every image now seemed to mock my own naivety. She was there with that forced smile, the one that never reached her eyes anymore. Michael loomed behind her, checking his phone with the intensity of a man watching stocks or sports scores. Neither of them looked particularly happy to be here. Daddy, Emily wrapped her arms around me, holding on a second too long. The hug felt calculated, as if she were depositing emotional currency for a later withdrawal. Michael walked right past me without a greeting, his designer shoes echoing against the marble as he headed straight for my leather armchair. My armchair. I followed him into the living room, noticing how Emily nervously adjusted the straps of her designer handbag, the $5,000 one I had bought her last Christmas. Michael had already spread documents over my coffee table, as if he were running a board meeting. Emily sat on the edge of the sofa, her fingers finding the pearl necklace I had given her for her 30th birthday. She always touched it when she was about to ask for something. Can I get you two anything to drink? Water? Wine? I offered, though hospitality was the last thing I felt. Let's get to the point, Robert, Michael said without looking up from his papers. We have a situation. Robert. Not even the courtesy of Mr. Morales. I gripped my whiskey glass tighter and counted backward from 10, an old anger management technique that rarely worked anymore. Emily's voice went high-pitched. Another tell. Daddy, you know we wouldn't come to you unless it was absolutely necessary. You always said family comes first, and we are family. What happened with the investment property in the suburbs? I kept my tone neutral, though my jaw had begun its usual tightening. Michael finally looked up. His expression suggested I had asked about ancient history, market corrections, a temporary setback. But we're not here about that. Emily's wedding ring was spinning on her finger. Her grandmother's ring. Actually, my mother's. Spinning it was her tell when she was lying. It had been since she was 12 and denied breaking Linda's china. The thing is, Emily started, then stopped, and started again. Michael has been working so hard on this new project. A tech startup. Very promising. Revolutionary. Truly. How much? I interrupted. The grandfather clock in the corner ticked 3 long seconds of silence. Michael's cologne, something expensive and overpowering, mingled with the oak and vanilla notes of my whiskey. Emily's heel tapped a nervous rhythm on the marble floor. Really, it's not that much for someone with your assets, Michael said, leaning back in my armchair. The leather groaned under his weight, a sound that had always been mine alone until tonight. 500,000. We need it in our account by tomorrow at noon. The room tilted slightly. My migraine, the one that always started behind my left eye in times of stress, began its familiar pulse. 500, 000, not 50, 000, not even 100, 000. $500,000, said as casually as ordering takeout. That's... I started and stopped. Memories flooded in, uninvited. Teaching Emily to ride her bike in the park, her college graduation, walking her down the aisle at that luxury hotel. Had that girl ever existed, or had I imagined her? Daddy, we wouldn't ask if we had any other choice. Emily's fingers moved from her pearls to dab at her eyes, though I noticed no actual tears. The mortgage, the kids' schools. You know how expensive everything has gotten. I did know. I paid for those schools directly. $15,000 per child per semester at that private academy. The mortgage on their house in the rich neighborhood, the one I had covered the down payment for. $200,000 that had been a one-time help 3 years ago. Michael got up, walked to my bar uninvited, and poured himself 3 fingers of my 2 5-year-old scotch. These aren't bank people we're dealing with, Robert. These are serious individuals. I would hate for this to affect your reputation at the country club or the dealerships. The threat hung in the air just like Michael's cologne. Obvious, overwhelming, and nauseating. My blood pressure spiked. The migraine exploded from behind my eye across my skull. The room spun slightly, and I gripped the fireplace mantel to stay upright. "Daddy, you look pale," Emily said. Not with concern, but with calculation, as if she were measuring my weakness for maximum advantage. That's when she said the words that changed everything. "If Mom were alive, she would be ashamed of how you are treating us." The words hung between us like a blade. Emily knew exactly what she was doing. Linda and I had divorced 10 years ago, but Emily still used her memory as a weapon when it suited her. It didn't matter that Linda was living happily in another city with her new husband. It didn't matter that she had warned me about Emily's manipulation. In Emily's version of history, Linda was a saint who would have opened her checkbook without question. "Your mother," I said slowly, "would have told you to get jobs." Michael let out a short laugh from my bar, still holding my scotch like he'd earned it. "Jobs? I'm an entrepreneur, Robert. I create jobs. 3 failed startups in 5 years. A crypto disaster I had warned him about last Christmas. The consulting firm that never consulted anyone. I had funded them all, every single one. Watching the money disappear into Michael's delusions of grandeur. You missed Sarah's recital last month. Emily switched tactics. Her voice trembled with manufactured pain. And Max's soccer tournament. But you have time for your quarterly reports? Those quarterly reports kept her kids in private school, kept her electric car charged, kept her address in the rich neighborhood respectable. But I didn't say that. Instead, I watched Emily's mascara run in 2 perfect streams. She had clearly practiced this performance. Let me get this straight. I let go of the mantle, straightening up despite the migraine. You need $500,000 by tomorrow at noon. For what exactly? Michael and Emily exchanged a look. The kind married couple's perfect after years of coordinated deceit. Michael put down my scotch and returned to the coffee table, shuffling papers with the unconscious rhythm of someone used to handling cards or chips. "Real estate opportunity," he said. "It's time sensitive. We can't miss this window. You just said you lost money in real estate in the suburbs." That was different. Michael's knuckles turned white as he gripped one of the documents. "This is cryptocurrency. This is a sure thing." The slip was small but significant. Crypto, not real estate. The same mistake that cost them $200,000 8 months ago. My left hand started to shake. A new symptom in my 60th year. I stuck it in my pocket. Emily's phone vibrated. She glanced at it, typed quickly, and then placed it face down. "Daddy, we've supported you through so much. When you and Mom got divorced, who was by your side? When the economy crashed in 2020, who helped keep the dealerships running? You were at the beach all that summer," I reminded her, posting about it daily on social media. "That's not fair. The wedding." I started listing, my voice steady despite the building rage. $100,000. The down payment on the house, $200,000. Michael's first startup, $150,000. The second, $80,000. The third, "That's ancient history," Michael interrupted, standing up, trying to use his height as an advantage. "We are talking about our future. Your grandchildren's future. The grandchildren whose tuition I paid directly to the private school." Emily stood up too, grabbing her phone. The staged childhood photo, the one of us at the water park when she was 7, suddenly appeared on the coffee table. She had brought it as a prop. "These aren't just debts, Robert." Michael moved closer, close enough that I could see the small scar above his left eyebrow. "They're obligations. Serious people with serious consequences. By tomorrow at noon, or things get complicated for everyone, your reputation, the dealerships, that nice country club membership. Are you threatening me in my own home?" My voice dropped to barely a whisper. "We are being honest about the reality," Emily said, but her voice faltered. She had never seen me this angry, this controlled. "Daddy, please, we need this. Tomorrow at noon, that's non-negotiable." The room felt suffocating despite the central air. My migraine pounded with every heartbeat. Michael's cologne seemed to thicken the air. Emily's calculated tears had run her eye makeup into something almost theatrical. I looked at them both, my daughter, who had become a stranger, and her husband, who had never pretended to be anything but a parasite. The grandfather clock chimed 9 times. Outside, the city suburbs continued their quiet evening routines, oblivious to the family destruction happening in my living room. "Fine," the word came out flat. "Exhausted. Tomorrow. Now get out." Emily mistook my exhaustion for surrender. She lunged forward, arms outstretched for another hug. I took a step back, letting her arms fall empty. Michael extended his hand for a shake, gripping too hard, establishing a dominance he had never earned. "We knew you would understand," Emily said, collecting her designer bag and her staged photo. "Family first, right, Daddy?" They left without another word, Michael's hand possessively on Emily's lower back, guiding her out like a casino chip he had just won. I stood in the doorway, watching the distinct hum of their electric car fade down the street. The taillights disappeared as they turned the corner onto the main avenue of the neighborhood. I waited exactly 5 minutes after their taillights vanished before making the first call. David Valdez answered on the second ring. Despite the late hour, 25 years of friendship and legal counsel meant he knew my patterns. I never called after 9 unless something was seriously wrong. "They finally crossed the line, didn't they?" His voice held no surprise, only resignation. "Tomorrow at noon," I said, like I'm an ATM with a withdrawal limit they finally exceeded. "The house transfer papers are already filed," David said. I heard the rustle of papers on his end. "They just don't know it yet. Emily's name was never on that deed. Remember? You insisted on keeping it in your name when you paid the down payment." "What about Linda?" I asked. Walking back through my house, seeing it differently now, not as a home but as a stage for tonight's final performance. "She's waiting for your call. She says it's about time you stopped enabling them." I hung up and immediately went to my home office. The migraine had transformed from explosive pain to a cold clarity. My laptop opened to a confirmation email from 3 weeks ago. "Via Las Palmas, Costa Rica, March 17th to April 17th. Your reservation is confirmed. The retirement planning trip would now serve a different purpose." I called the airline, navigating the automated system with practiced efficiency. The morning flight could be moved up to 6:45 a.m. First class still available, 1 passenger. My safe opened with a combination I had never shared, not even with Emily. Inside, organized in labeled folders, lay 20 years of financial documentation. Every check, every wire transfer, every loan. The agreement Michael signed in December 2023, promising this would be the last request. Emily's social media posts from the last year, printed and dated, showing her lavish lifestyle while she claimed poverty. Shopping sprees at the luxury mall, dinners at expensive restaurants, weekend trips to the vineyards. I found an old shipping box in the garage, ordinary and unremarkable. Inside, I arranged 3 sets of documents with a lawyer's precision. First, the deed to their house. Second, the complete loan history. $847,000 over 8 years, meticulously documented. Third, the legal notices David had prepared months ago, hoping we would never need them. At the bottom, I placed a USB drive containing tonight's security footage. The cameras I had installed after a break-in 2 years ago had captured everything. Emily's rehearsed tears, Michael's threats, their coordinated manipulation. On top, I put a single note. "You wanted it by tomorrow. Here is what you are actually getting." Packing took me 30 minutes. 2 suitcases, efficiently filled with tropical weather clothes, essential documents, medications. My dealership manager, Javier, received a brief email. "Family emergency. You're in charge. Details to follow." I stood in the hallway, looking at the family portrait we had taken 5 years ago at the park by the lake. Emily's smile seemed genuine then, or maybe I just wanted to believe it. I took the heavy frame off the wall, turned it around, and rehung it. The blank canvas seemed more honest somehow. In my room, I took off my college ring, the one Emily used to wear for play when she was a child, pretending she would wear it one day. It went into the box with everything else. The migraine had vanished completely, replaced by something closer to anticipation. My phone showed 3 texts from Emily. I deleted them unread. Michael had called twice, probably to reinforce the deadline for tomorrow. The voicemails could wait forever. I made one more call, this time to Linda in the other city. She answered immediately as if she had been waiting by the phone. "Robert, David called me." "Are you really doing it?" "I should have done this years ago. She's our daughter." Linda's voice carried sadness, not judgment. "But she's not the daughter we raised, is she?" "No, she's not." "The place in Costa Rica? Will you be safe there?" "It's a vacation. A long one. Javier can handle the dealerships. The lawyers can handle everything else." Linda was silent for a moment. "You know she will try to find you." "Let her try. By the time she finds out what's really in that box, I'll be drinking coffee on the beach, deciding if I'll ever come back." We said goodbye without sentimentality. Linda understood what Emily had become, perhaps before I did. Mothers always know. At 11:30 p.m., I was in my dark kitchen, drinking water and studying the refrigerator covered in my grandchildren's drawings. Stick figures labeled Grandpa and me fishing at the lake. A crayon drawing of my dealership with Grandpa's work scrawled underneath. I carefully removed the fishing drawing, folded it, and put it in my wallet. The children were not responsible for their parents' choices. I placed the box on the porch table where they would be sure to see it. The doorbell camera would capture their reaction when they opened it at noon, expecting a check and finding the complete dismantling of their delusions instead. The alarm was set for 4:30 a.m. 6 hours until my new life began. 6.5 hours until theirs fell apart. The alarm cut through the darkness at exactly 4:30 a.m. No snooze button, no hesitation. I had trained myself over 32 years of early dealership meetings to wake up instantly. And today that discipline served a different purpose. The coffee maker clicked to life, already programmed the night before. A dark roast, the kind Emily always complained was too strong when she still visited for breakfast. The ceramic mug warmed my hands. An anniversary gift from her 10 years ago, when she still remembered those dates. Through the kitchen window, the city skyline was beginning its slow wake-up, office buildings lighting up floor by floor while most of the city still slept. I moved through my house with deliberate precision, documenting each room like a detective at a crime scene. The master bedroom still held the portrait of Linda's mother. Emily had always wanted it. She just never asked kindly enough to receive it. Her childhood room, converted to an office long ago. It still displayed her high school trophies. State debate champion. National Honor Society. The daughter I had raised versus the stranger who demanded money 12 hours ago. The pool area looked serene in the pre-dawn light. I had taught Emily to swim there, her fearless 4-year-old splash. Last July, Michael had gotten drunk at our holiday celebration, fell in fully clothed, and then blamed me for the pool's location. Even then, I had cut him the check for his ruined designer watch. The luxury car hummed to life in the garage. I chose it over the electric one. Michael had too many memories in that car, too many assumptions about inheritance. The streets of the wealthy neighborhood were empty, except for the garbage trucks beginning their Saturday routes. I drove past Emily's neighborhood, all the houses dark, peaceful. They were sleeping, probably dreaming of ways to spend my money. The radio played classic rock, and a familiar song filled the cabin. The intersection of the main avenues. I considered calling Linda, but decided against it. David would handle that conversation better than I could. The highway stretched ahead, nearly empty. I passed 3 of my dealerships, their lots full of inventory that would soon be Javier's responsibility. The main location still had my picture in the lobby. That would have to change. Near downtown, I noted Michael's favorite bar, where his gambling connections congregated, where this whole mess had really started. Construction on the main avenue forced a detour onto another street. The city I had built my business in for 3 decades looked different in the pre-dawn darkness, like a set prepared for a play I would no longer be attending. David's office occupied the 42nd floor of the office tower. At 5:30 a.m., the building was mostly empty, save for security and the obsessively ambitious. David was waiting in the conference room with Sarah Chen, his paralegal, documents spread on the table with military precision. A box of donuts sat in the center. Our tradition for major deals since 1999. "You look surprisingly well rested," David observed, sliding the power of attorney across the table. First good night's sleep in months. I signed with my father's fountain pen, the one Emily didn't know existed. Limited scope, I see. Expires in 60 days. Property transfers and financial restructuring only. Can't have you selling my organs, after all. My attempt at lightness fell flat. We both knew this was a necessary surgery, not revenge. Sarah presented the property documentation with clinical efficiency. The interesting part, Mr. Morales, is the timing. The transfer was executed yesterday at 4 p.m. Before they came to my house. 3 hours before. Emily's house has legally been yours since she signed those papers in 2020. She never read the second page. The irony was perfect. While Emily was driving to my house to demand money, she had already lost her biggest asset. The house she posted constantly on social media, the symbol of her success, had never been hers at all. The financial lockdown, I asked? Executed at midnight. Joint accounts frozen. Credit cards in your name suspended. The kids' tuition remains on autopay through December. We're not punishing them. David pulled out another folder, thicker than the rest. The nuclear option. As we discussed, inside were transcripts of Emily's texts to her friends, calling me a walking ATM and too pathetic to say no. The promissory note Michael signed in 2023, swearing this was the last time. The USB drive with last night's security footage, their entire performance captured in high definition. The prenuptial agreement Michael signed, David continued, includes a gambling addiction clause. Page 47. Subsection 3. He doesn't know? His lawyer was too drunk to read that far. He showed up to the signing smelling like whiskey at 2 p.m. Sarah looked uncomfortable. Mr. Morales, this is remarkably thorough. 5 years of preparation, I replied. I just kept hoping I would never need it. David pulled out an identical shipping box to the one on my porch. You sure? If she doesn't find yours, this one goes to her office on Monday. Along with this, he revealed photos. Michael at the casino last week. The timestamp clear. The losses visible on his face. Linda knows? I asked. She's known for months. She helped document everything. She's just as tired of enabling Emily as you are. The Costa Rica property. Bought through the offshore entity. Completely shielded. Even if Emily gets ambitious with lawyers, she can't touch it. I signed the last document, my hand shaking slightly over the dissolution of Emily's trust fund. 20 years of planning for her future dissolved with a single signature. David noticed the tremor. Scotch? He pointed to his desk drawer. Another tradition. No. I need a clear head for the flight. At 6 a.m. I stood and shook David's hand. His grip conveyed understanding, sympathy, and resolve. The elevator descended alone, each floor marking the distance from my old life. The valet already had my luxury car running. I handed him a $100 bill in an envelope. Javier Martinez will pick this up on Monday. The young man nodded, confused but professional. I drove toward the airport as the sun broke the horizon, painting the city skyline in gold. My phone vibrated. Emily, calling earlier than expected. The last time I would hear that ringtone without choosing to answer. The highway stretched toward the airport as the dawn painted the hills in copper and gold. The familiar route felt different this morning. Every landmark was a farewell. The taco stand was setting up at the intersection, where I usually stopped for breakfast. Not today. The news radio discussed a local businessman's expansion plans. My own dealership group, ironically, though they wouldn't be mine for much longer. Emily called 3 times in rapid succession, then Michael once. Each ringtone felt like a countdown. 10 years ago, that sound would have made me answer immediately, worried something had happened to the grandkids. Now I recognized it for what it was. The sound of entitlement demanding its due. Mental inventory as I merged onto the freeway. Javier had run Saturday operations for 5 years. He would manage fine. The property management company had its instructions and 6 months of prepayment. The grandkids' school tuition would continue through December. They shouldn't suffer for their parents' choices. Everything else had ceased to be my responsibility at midnight. The south terminal of the airport emerged from the morning haze. The valet stand wasn't busy yet, just 2 attendants preparing for the day's rush. Tomas, who had parked my cars for 3 years, looked surprised. Early flight, mister. Morales? Change of plans. I handed him the keys and an envelope. Javier Martinez will pick this up on Monday. His information is inside. Everything all right, sir? better than it has been in years. I didn't look back at the car. That car had driven Emily to her wedding, Michael to countless bars, me to endless ATM withdrawals. I'd let Javier decide what to do with it. The first-class counter was empty except for Monica, who had checked me in for dozens of business trips. Costa Rica today, Mr. Morales? I have you on the 6:45 to San Jose. That's right. Normal conversation masking a life-changing shift. 2 bags to check. All I need. She tagged the bags with practiced efficiency. I kept my carry-on close. Documents. Medications. Laptop. The few photos I couldn't leave behind. As she handed back my passport, I pulled out a sealed envelope. I need a favor, Monica. Someone will be coming by to pick this up later today. Emily Carter. She will be agitated. Monica's professionalism never wavered. Any special instructions? Just check her ID. There's a key inside for a storage unit. She'll understand. Or she wouldn't. Either way, the storage unit held 20 years of her childhood belongings I had saved. Things she had never bothered to collect. I'd let her decide if the memories were worth more than the money. The expedited security line moved with Saturday morning efficiency. The usual agents recognized me. Where to today, Mr. Morales? Somewhere warmer. Business or pleasure? Neither. Personal. I passed through the scanner. Belt off, shoes in the bin. The mundane ritual of modern travel felt surreal against the backdrop of my life's deliberate demolition. I collected my belongings, each item returning to its designated pocket, except my phone, which remained off. The airport cafe appeared at gate 14, and muscle memory guided me to the counter. The barista, Carla, according to her name tag, smiled with morning enthusiasm. The usual? Medium dark roast? No room? Make it a large today. Special occasion? You could say that. I sat at the gate, the coffee warming my hands just as my mug at home had 2 hours ago. My phone showed its final statistics before I turned it off for good. 7 missed calls from Emily. 3 from Michael. 12 text messages. 2 voicemails. Emily's last text caught my eye. Dad, call me. I had weird dreams about money, I typed a reply. Dreams and reality are often different. I deleted it. I typed again. Check the porch. Deleted that too. Finally, I typed. Ask David Valdez. Then I deleted that as well. Instead, I powered down the phone, removed the SIM card, and dropped both into the nearest trash can. The burner phone could become someone else's problem. First-class passengers for Flight 40047 to San Jose. Costa Rica, please board. The gate agent scanned my boarding pass with a practiced smile. The jet bridge stretched forward, each step lighter than the last. The flight attendant welcomed me to seat 2 amperes, window, left side. I accepted the offered champagne, unusual for 7 in the morning, perfect for this moment. Other passengers filed past. A honeymoon couple, laughing and constantly touching, reminded me of Linda and me 35 years ago. A business traveler typed frantically on his laptop, chasing some deadline that seemed monumentally important. That had been me once, building an empire for a daughter who only saw 80 codes. An elderly woman settled into 3C with knitting needles and yellow yarn, just as Emily's grandmother used to do before the arthritis won. Excuse me. A familiar voice made me freeze. Linda was in the aisle, designer carry-on in hand, looking exactly as composed as she had during our divorce proceedings. She settled into 2B across the aisle, close enough to talk, far enough to maintain the boundaries we'd set a decade ago. David called, she said simply. I thought you might need backup. It's not your fight anymore. It hasn't been for 10 years. But she's still my daughter. Someone should be there when she lands. Lands? I bought the condo next door 6 months ago. David is really thorough. He found it, negotiated the deal, handled everything. I've been planning this just as long as you have, the captain's voice interrupted. Slight delay for our last passenger. My chest tightened. Emily? Had she figured it out early? Michael? The door opened, but it was just a hurried businessman apologizing as he squeezed past to economy. Did you tell her? I asked Linda. Tell her what? That her father finally stopped enabling her? That her husband is a parasite? That she became the exact thing we swore she never would? No, Robert. She'll find that out for herself. Today, in fact. The door closed with a pneumatic finality. 7:05 a.m. Pushback, 7:15 a.m. Engines roaring to life. The acceleration pressing me back into leather that didn't smell like Michael's cologne or Emily's perfume. The city shrank below. The hills and lakes I had called home for 30 years became abstract geometry. Somewhere down there, Emily's alarm was going off. In 4 hours, she would arrive at my empty house. In 5 hours, she would find the box. In 6 hours, my old life would be completely dismantled. The flight attendant appeared with breakfast menus. Business or pleasure? I considered the question. Neither. It's justice. Linda laughed. The first genuine laugh I had heard from her in years. That's the Robert I married. Welcome back. Below, the state disappeared under the clouds. At exactly noon, when Emily was expecting $500,000, I was having lunch over the Caribbean. Linda read beside me. Both of us finally free from the daughter we had loved and lost years before the money ever ran out. I learned what happened next the way I learned most things about Emily's life. Secondhand, through cameras and witnesses. A father watching his daughter's life like a documentary he couldn't turn off. David sent me the security footage 3 days later. I watched it on my laptop, from the balcony in Costa Rica. The Pacific waves provided an oddly peaceful soundtrack to my daughter's collapse. The timestamp showed 12 p.m. exactly when the first text hit. Your transaction has been completed. That was David confirming the house transfer had been recorded. At that precise moment I was ordering ceviche, and Emily was likely still sleeping off whatever hangover Michael had bought with my previous loan. Based on her Saturday routine, David had documented this too. Emily left her house at 11:30 a.m. The coffee shop charge at 11:47 confirmed it. A $7 latte on the credit card I had canceled at midnight. The decline wouldn't register until Monday, when weekend authorizations processed. Her last purchase on my dime. Mrs. Chen, my neighbor of 15 years, provided the next chapter. She had called David at 12:15 p.m., speaking in her precise English that 40 years in the country hadn't softened. Mr. Valdez, they are here? Emily and the gambling man. They don't know I am watching. The security footage resumes at 12:15 and 23 seconds. Emily's white Mercedes pulled into my driveway with the confidence of someone picking up her allowance. Michael checked his phone. David later confirmed he was following basketball scores, likely planning his next bet with my money. Emily applied lipstick in the mirror, the same shade of red she had worn to ask for her first car at 16, the down payment for her wedding at 28, the $500,000 demand yesterday at 35. They walked to my door like they owned it. Michael carried an empty branded briefcase. $12,000 retail, bought with my money in January. Empty, waiting for cash that would never come. Emily rang the bell at 12:16 and 45 seconds. A normal ring, not the demanding triple press from yesterday. She waited exactly 10 seconds. I knew her patterns. Then she rang again, longer this time. Michael cupped his hands against the side window, peering into my empty kitchen. His car is gone, Emily said, loud enough for Mrs. Chen to hear from her garden. So what? He has 5 cars. Michael's dismissive tone carried across the yard. The lights are on timers. Emily noticed what I had programmed weeks ago. Maybe he went to get cash from the bank. You said noon? It's barely past. They tried the door at 12:18. Emily's key scraped against the lock, unable to find purchase. David's assistant had changed them at 7 a.m., 3 hours after I left for the airport. The confusion on Emily's face was almost worth the decades of manipulation. Michael spotted the box at 12:20 and 33 seconds. Just a shipping package on the porch table. Unremarkable, except for Emily written in black marker on top. He tore it open casually, probably expecting a late birthday gift or an apology present. The first document he pulled out was the deed to their house. His face changed like a time-lapse photograph of fruit, rotting from confusion to disbelief to horror in under 3 seconds. He dropped it, and Michael snatched the paper before it hit the ground. What do you mean? It's in his name. Michael's voice carried to Mrs. Chen's yard. Emily pulled out the spreadsheet next. Every payment, every loan, every gift. Meticulously documented, total, $1,300,000 over 8 years, not including the house. Her hands were shaking as she reached the bottom line. The photographs came next. Michael at the casino last Tuesday. The timestamp clear, his losses written on his face. Then the promissory note he had signed, swearing the December money was the last he would ask for. Emily's text messages to her friends, printed and highlighted. Dad is too pathetic to say no, and he'll cave. He always does. And my personal favorite, I deserve this money more than he does. At 12:23 and 17 seconds, Emily's phone vibrated. The first credit card decline. Then another and another. The main card. The gold card. The department store card. All suspended. All in my name. All canceled at midnight while she slept. Michael tried calling someone at 12:24. His bookie David found out later, who informed him that credit extensions required collateral, not promises. Emily slumped onto my porch steps, her designer dress wrinkling against the concrete I had repoured last summer. She found the USB drive at 12:25 and 44 seconds, plugged it into her phone with trembling fingers. Her own voice echoed from the speaker, tinny but clear. Just take what he gives you. He's too pathetic to say no. Then Michael's voice. These aren't bank people, Robert. They're serious individuals. The prenuptial agreement surfaced last. Page 47 was highlighted in yellow. The gambling addiction clause circled in red. Immediate forfeiture of marital assets and gambling debts exceeded $50,000. Michael had passed that threshold 3 years ago. Michael threw his briefcase at my front door at 12:27 and 31 seconds. The handle snapped, the branded leather scattering across my porch. Emily's cry became audible on the recording. Not the pretty tears from yesterday, but raw, ugly sounds from someone realizing she has played herself. Mrs. Chen emerged at 12:28, her 5-foot frame holding her phone like a weapon. I am calling the police if you do not leave. This is my father's house, Emily screamed, mascara creating abstract art on her cheeks. Not anymore. Mr. Morales sent me the property transfer notice this morning. You are trespassing. Michael ran for the car at 12:30, leaving Emily gathering scattered papers, her fortune now just trash on my porch. She left a few behind. The wind would take care of them. Michael peeled out, leaving tire marks in my driveway that the property manager would charge to his account. At 12:30 and 45 seconds, exactly as Emily discovered her inheritance had evaporated, I was looking at the ocean from a beachside restaurant. The waiter had just asked if I was celebrating. A graduation, I said. Your son? He had asked in accented English. No, mine. David called on Monday with the epilogue. Emily returned Sunday morning with a locksmith who refused the job once he verified ownership. She tried to jump the fence until the security company responded. The police gave her a trespassing warning. Michael never came back. David heard he had moved into his brother's house in another city. The divorce papers were already filed. 3 days later, sitting on my balcony with Linda reading beside me, David asked if I wanted to see the full footage. No, I said, watching the pelicans dive for fish. The screaming I had heard for 5 years was finally blissfully silent. David sent me the parking garage footage 3 days later. I watched it from my terrace in Costa Rica, pelicans fishing in the background while my daughter's life imploded on my laptop. The timestamp showed 7 p.m. on March 16th. Exactly when I was having my first peaceful dinner in years. Her Mercedes screeched into the underground parking of Emily's condo building. Even without audio, Michael's body language screamed rage. He slammed the door so hard the car alarm went off, its lights flashing like a distress signal no one would answer. Emily chased him to the elevator, clutching those documents like evidence in a murder trial, which in a way they were. Evidence of the murder of her delusions. The building's elevator audio, which David's assistant somehow obtained, captured their conversation with devastating clarity. Emily's voice shrill with betrayal. You said it was commercial real estate. It was. Michael's denial came fast, desperate. The casino was just for stress relief. Stress relief? Stress relief? The sound of papers hitting flesh. Then the pleasant ding of the elevator. The doors closing on Emily's raw weeping. By 7:30, Emily had started a social media live stream that would become legendary among the city's social circles. David's assistant screenshotted everything before Emily deleted it. Minutes later, there she was, mascara creating abstract art on her cheeks, wine glass shaking in her manicured hand. When someone you trust betrays you, She held the house deed up to the camera, Michael visible in the background, throwing clothes into a suitcase. When your whole life is built on lies, the wine glass flew across the room, smashing against their wedding photo. End of stream. 47 people watched Emily Carter, the social butterfly of the wealthy neighborhood, self-destruct in real time. 3 were employees from my dealerships who immediately forwarded the recording to David. Michael's mother called my office on Monday morning, her voicemail preserved in David's meticulous records. Mr. Morales, Michael has been missing since Saturday night. Emily says you kidnapped him. A pause, heavy with maternal desperation. I know it's crazy, but do you know where my son is? I didn't, but I knew where he had been. Michael had spent those hours calling everyone he had ever met with money. Country club friends, college buddies, even his ex-girlfriend's father. Each conversation shorter than the last, each rejection adding weight to his desperation. His mother overheard him say, his voice broken, "It's not just about money anymore. These people don't play." Between 8:30 and 10 p.m., Emily dove deep into internet legal advice. Her search history, visible because she had used my online shopping account to access the Wi-Fi, read like a map of denial. Can a father take back a gifted house taxes? How to break power of attorney? Statute of limitations? Financial gifts? Taxes? Emergency bankruptcy? Lawyer city? Can casino debts affect spouse taxes? Cheap divorce lawyer, no retainer. The last search hurt more than I expected. Not because she wanted to divorce Michael, that was long overdue, but because she immediately went looking for someone else to finance it. Raquel, Emily's best friend from college, called Linda around 10 p.m. Emily had finally played the entire USB drive, not just yesterday's pathetic comment. 5 years of family gatherings, birthday parties, and holiday dinners, all secretly recorded. Emily's voice calling me a walking ATM on her 30th birthday. Michael joking about bleeding the old man dry at Christmas dinner. Emily coaching Michael on manipulation tactics before our anniversary dinner. The Christmas toast where they had mockingly thanked good old Dad. The family bank. She played it 3 times, Raquel told Linda, like she couldn't believe it was real. The credit card waterfall began at exactly 10:17 p.m., each decline notification pinging David's monitoring system. Main card declined. Gold card suspended. Store card invalid. Even her coffee shop card deactivated. A food delivery driver filed a complaint the next day. Emily had ordered $200 worth of sushi, planning to pay cash. There was no cash in the house. The driver threatened small claims court while Michael was already at a pawn shop with her jewelry. Emily's social media posts between 11 p.m. and midnight became city gossip legend, each one deleted in minutes, but the screenshots spread like wildfire, betrayed by blood. When your father chooses money over family? Anyone know labor lawyers? Selling designer handbags? Serious inquiries only? The comments she didn't expect came immediately. Her cousin. Didn't you just post from the beach last week? High school friend. I thought your dad bought you everything. Ex-coworker. Aren't you the one who quit working after you got married? While Emily's world unraveled, Linda and I were sitting on the beach terrace playing poker. A local guitarist strummed nearby, and I gave him $100 to play that classic rock song. Linda laughed. The first genuine laugh I had heard from her in years. You're terrible at poker, she observed, taking my chips. I'm free, I replied, and I meant it. Mrs. Chen called David again at 11:45 p.m. Emily had returned to my house, just sitting in her Mercedes in the driveway. Not trying to get in, not raging, just sitting, staring at the dark windows, as if they might suddenly light up with forgiveness. She stayed there for an hour, Mrs. Chen reported. When she finally left at 1 a.m., she looked different, like she had aged 10 years in 10 hours. By midnight on March 16th, Emily had lost access to $2.3 million in assets, discovered $500,000 in hidden family debts, realized Michael had gambled away their savings, found out she never owned her house, and learned her mother had known everything for months. David asked if I felt guilty about the recordings. I told him the only thing I regretted was not starting to record sooner. On Sunday morning, March 17th, Emily stood at the entrance of my office building for 2 hours. Security footage showed her pressing the intercom every few minutes, like a child repeatedly pushing an elevator button, expecting persistence to change reality. She called employees from the company directory she had stolen years ago. Javier blocked her after the third call. Others just didn't answer. By noon, she had moved to the city's international airport, the same terminal where I had dropped her off for college visits, where I had welcomed her home from her honeymoon. Now she was there like a detective, desperately searching for clues to my escape. Airport security wouldn't provide passenger information. The airline required a court order. When she pleaded family emergency, they checked their system. The passenger specifically requested no contact, the agent informed her. David had the airport security video, Emily's face crumbling at those words. Her transportation receipts that afternoon, the last rides before the account was cut off, mapped a citywide path of desperation. The golf club, membership revoked, entry denied. The steakhouse where we had celebrated every major deal. We haven't seen Mr. Morales lately. Even my barber shop on South Avenue. Though it was closed on Sundays, she stood outside, peering through the windows as if strands of my hair could reveal my location. Monday, March 18th, became Emily's legal education day. 4 law firms, 4 identical consultations, each lawyer's expression shifting from interest to sympathy as they reviewed the documents. "This is ironclad," said the first. "You'll need a $10,000 retainer," said the second. "Do you have access to funds?" asked the third. The fourth just shook his head. The 3 p.m. dealership confrontation made it to employee social media. Emily stormed into the main location on Investigation Avenue, demanding answers from Javier. Javier Martinez, 6'3", ex-Marine, remained perfectly calm as she screamed about kidnapping, elder abuse, and theft. When she threw her coffee at the glass door, customers started recording. The brown stain would remain there for 3 days. Javier left it there on principle. Michael's mother's voicemail at 5 p.m. conveyed a mother's worst fears. "Mr. Morales, Michael has been missing since Saturday night. Emily says you kidnapped him. I know it's crazy, but do you know where my son is?" On Tuesday, March 19th, the real creditors arrived. Not bank representatives in polyester suits, but 2 men in Italian leather who knocked politely and spoke quietly. They left a business card with only a phone number. No threats, no violence. Just the weight of unspoken consequences. Emily called Michael 47 times. His phone had been off since Saturday. Her social media stories that afternoon, captured by her sorority sisters, documented the pawnshop tour. Designer bags valued at $30,000, $8,000 in cash. Jewelry valued at $50,000, except the wedding ring, $15,000 in cash. Michael's 3 abandoned watches valued at $40,000, $12,000 in cash. She was still $460,000 short of what they needed. That night, Linda took Emily's call. She recorded it with legal permission, knowing I would need to hear it eventually. "Mom, you knew." Emily's voice sounded younger, almost childlike. "About Michael's gambling? For 6 months. Why didn't you tell me? Would you have listened?" Silence. Then, "I need money. I needed it too, during the divorce. You told me I should be independent." The call ended with Emily's sob, cut short by Linda's disconnection. On Wednesday, March 20th, Emily walked into David's office wearing the same designer dress from her beach posts the week before. The irony was not lost on David, who noted it in his report. The same conference room where I had signed the papers. The same chair where Michael had spread his lies. David showed her everything with clinical precision. The power of attorney that predated her emergency. The house deed trail. Her 2020 signature. Having never read past page 2, gift tax returns, proving every dollar was a gift, not a loan. Michael's promissory note. His signature bold and undeniable. "He's my father." Emily's desperation cracked her voice. "He has to help me." Legally, he does not. What about support for the grandkids? Trust funds in their names only. Untouchable until they're 18. This is elder abuse. He's 62. He's of sound mind. He left voluntarily. David accidentally left Michael's credit report visible on his tablet. Emily's eyes widened as she absorbed the full catastrophe. $500,000 in gambling debts. $200,000 in personal loans she never knew about. $100,000 in credit cards he had hidden, even an attempt at a second mortgage on their house, denied due to ownership issues. The final envelope slid across the mahogany table with a whispered promise. Mr. Morales authorized one last gift. Inside, a cashier's check for $10,000 and a note in my handwriting. For a fresh start. Dad! Emily tore it in half. The pieces fluttered to the floor like dead leaves. She immediately asked if there was another. There was not. There never would be. Meanwhile, I was learning Spanish from the kids on the beach, Robert the Rich. They called me, laughing as I butchered the pronunciation. My blood pressure was down 20 points. I was sleeping 8 hours straight. I hadn't thought about Emily in 2 days, until Linda brought her up. Wednesday night, David reported. Emily left my office at noon. Security footage shows her sitting in the lobby until the building locked down at 9 p.m. The guard said she asked if you ever talked about her. He lied. Said yes, you spoke fondly. She said thank you and left. That night in Costa Rica, I dreamed I was teaching Emily to ride her bike again. But this time, when I let go, she just kept pedaling until she disappeared. The city newspaper article hit my inbox on April 3rd. Local businessman missing after financial scandal. Michael Carter, 38, hadn't been seen since March 19th. Wife filed a missing person report. Police found no evidence of foul play. His car in the airport long-term parking. A ticket to Las Vegas, purchased but never used. The creditors returned to Emily's condo on April 5th. More insistent this time, according to the police report Emily filed. They left a photo from February. Michael at the casino, chips scattered on the table, owing $500,000. Emily filed for a restraining order. The judge asked about the money owed. Order denied. Her garage sale that weekend became neighborhood entertainment. The social network group post, forwarded by David's investigator, painted a portrait of decline. Moving sale. Everything must go. Furniture that once hosted charity galas. Michael's golf clubs. Custom made. Sold for $200. Wedding china. Luxury crystal. $50 for the set. Her wedding dress, preserved in acid-free tissue. No takers at any price. A neighbor posted. Sad. A year ago. She hosted that charity gala here. Raised $50,000. By mid-April, Emily's job applications flooded the city's job market. 47 positions in 2 weeks. Tracked through professional networks. Interior design firms. Gap in employment too long. Retail positions. Overqualified. Finally, the department store hired her. The same store where she had spent thousands monthly. Starting wage, $15 an hour. Plus commission. The universe's sense of irony remained intact. On April 15th, an eviction notice appeared on her condo door. 3 months behind on the mortgage. Michael had handled the finances. Never mentioned the mounting debt. $4,500 monthly payment. $13,500 owed, plus late fees. May 15th, pay or vacate deadline. She discovered this after returning from her first day at the store, still wearing the employee name tag she had once ignored on others. The divorce filing on April 18th read like a corporate dissolution, abandonment cited as cause. Michael to be notified. Location unknown. The judge allowed notification by publication in 3 newspapers. Cost. $500 that Emily did not have. She used her employee discount to buy a suit for court. The first clothes she had bought with earned money in 7 years. While Emily rebuilt from the ashes, I was building something new in Costa Rica. My days developed a rhythm I had forgotten existed. Sunrise with the howler monkeys. Coffee overlooking the Pacific. Morning swims in water clear enough to see my feet. Lunch at Manuel's beach shack, where no one knew about dealerships or daughters. The local kids called me Robert the Rich. I taught them English in exchange for Spanish lessons. Their parents invited me to dinners where no one mentioned money, investments, or opportunities. Real conversations about soccer, fishing, and the weather. No one asked for anything except to pass the salt. Linda took up painting, producing terrible seascapes that made us both laugh. We hadn't laughed together since Emily turned 16 and started seeing us as resources instead of parents. It wasn't romantic between us. That died long ago. But it was peaceful. like survivors of the same shipwreck sharing a lifeboat. My transformation shocked the doctor in San Jose. Blood pressure 30 points lower, 20 pounds lost without trying, off 3 medications. What changed? He asked in accented English. Everything and nothing. I stopped funding other people's lives and started living my own. On April 25th, a gossip site broke the news. Missing Texas businessman spotted in Mexico. Michael Carter working at a rental car agency in a border town under a fake name. The photo showed him behind a counter. 10 pounds thinner, no wedding ring. Extradition unlikely for civil debts. Emily commented on the article with just 2 words. Good riddance. On April 27th, Emily finally used the key to the airport storage unit. Manuel reported what she found. Every childhood item I had saved. Photo albums she thought I had discarded. Her grandmother's jewelry assumed lost in the divorce. A $50,000 savings bond in her name, maturing in 1 year, and a note in my handwriting. For when you remember who you were before the money mattered. Dad. The email arrived on April 28th, forwarded by David. Emily's words, carefully chosen. Mr. L. Valdez, please tell my father I found the storage unit. I understand now. I'm sorry. I'm working at the department store. I'm surviving. Maybe that's the lesson. Don't tell him, I asked. But is he happy? Emily. David asked if I should reply. April 29th. Sunset on the beach. Linda reading beside me. The same guitarist from my first night playing nearby. The same spot where Emily was discovering the box that changed everything. Tell her yes, I told David over the phone. Tell her I am happy. And tell her the bond was her mother's idea. Anything else? Tell her I'll be here when she's ready to visit, but she pays for her own ticket. That night, I watched the local families on the beach. 3 generations playing together. No one looking at phones. Everyone engaged in real conversation, poor by my country's standards, rich in every measure that mattered. Emily texted David. Thank you for telling me. Maybe at Christmas if I save enough. The first time in 5 years she had mentioned saving for anything. On April 30th, Manuel's band played at the beach bar. They dedicated a song to Robert the Rich, not the classic rock one this time, but a local folk song about a man who found treasure by giving it all away. Linda translated with tears in her eyes. It wasn't really about me. It was about all the expats there, all running from something, all finding something else. David called that night to say Emily had sold her Mercedes, bought a simple 10-year-old car, opened a savings account, posted on social media about the dignity of honest work. Should I keep monitoring her? He asked. No. The lesson was learned. The teaching is over. The learning, perhaps, is just beginning. The eviction notice had been on Emily's door since April 15th. By May 5th, David told me she had exhausted all options, begging the property management, offering partial payments, even trying to negotiate with the building owner. She never knew I had sold that property to an investment trust in January, anticipating this exact moment. The building's security footage showed her renting the smallest available moving truck that Saturday morning. Loading it herself took 12 hours. Mrs. Perez, who Emily had complained about for years over those noisy grandkids, offered her help from her balcony. Emily's pride, even broken, wouldn't let her accept. She wrestled with a leather sofa she had bought with my money, dragging it inch by inch to the truck as neighbors watched from their windows. The storage unit she could afford held everything except clothes and her laptop. 1 month prepaid. The cheapest facility in the city. Pure irony. Her unit was directly next to the one I had left her, the one with the bond. She walked past it daily, never realizing. On May 10th, the final communication from Michael arrived. A certified letter from the border town, requiring a signature. The mail carrier later provided a sworn statement for Emily's divorce proceedings, describing how her hands shook as she signed. Inside, 1 page. Michael's handwriting. Emily, by the time you read this, I'll have a new name and a new life. The men looking for me won't find me. Don't you try either. I'm sorry about your father's money, but you were the one who said he'd never cut you off. We both gambled. We both lost. The prenup your dad made me sign means you get nothing from me anyway. Consider us even. B. Her store manager called David, concerned. Emily didn't show up for 3 days. When she returned, She had lost 10 pounds, her eyes sunken. The manager almost fired her. For the first time in Emily Carter's life, she begged. Literally begged. She kept the job by promising perfect attendance going forward. May 15th, eviction day. Emily's new address. A studio apartment above a taco shop in a working-class neighborhood. The same neighborhood she had called dangerous when visiting college friends. 370 square feet. A window AC unit that rattled like dice in a cup. Shared laundry in a basement that smelled like mildew. $700 a month, cash only, no credit check. The second job started on May 16th. Night shift at a diner. 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. The same diner where she had made a scene 2 years earlier demanding the manager over cold eggs. Now she served drunk college kids and exhausted nurses for $2.13 an hour plus tips. Her new schedule became robotic. Wake up at 5 p.m., store from 6 p.m. to 2 p.m., sleep from 3 p.m. to 10 p.m., diner from 11 p.m. to 7 a.m., repeat. Sundays off were spent doing laundry and meal prepping. Rice, beans, the cheapest chicken she could find. Linda visited on May 24th. She called me that night, her voice careful. Emily had hung one item on the studio's water-stained wall. Our photo from her college graduation. The designer clothes were gone, replaced by discount store basics. 20 pounds lighter. Cheekbones sharp as accusations. Their conversation, as Linda recounted. I helped your father plan this. I know. Are you angry? I was. Now I'm just too tired to be angry. The bond was my idea. An insurance policy for when you hit bottom. Is this bottom? No. Bottom is when you stop blaming everyone else. Emily's admission came slowly, like pulling teeth. I was a terrible daughter. You were a spoiled daughter. Is there a difference? Is there? Terrible can't be fixed. Spoiled can be outgrown. The holiday weekend arrived with the city's usual heat. Emily worked a double at the store. Time and a half for holiday pay. The diner afterward was swamped with drunk partiers. She made $300 in tips in one night, the most cash she had touched since March. The diner's security cam captured her at 7:15 a.m. May 31st, sitting in her simple car counting tips, crying. Not the manipulative tears I had seen so often, but something raw. She later wrote to David that it was the first money she had truly earned. No manipulation, no last name, no expectations. Just work. Her phone records showed one text, written but never sent. Dad, I made $300 tonight all by myself. I know you won't see this. I know I was awful. But I wanted you to know I'm starting to understand. She deleted it, but the phone company records remained. Meanwhile, in Costa Rica, the rainy season had begun. I had started teaching English at the local school. Volunteer work. The kids called me Teacher Robert. No one knew about my money. Linda painted terrible landscapes, selling them to tourists for $20, donating the profits to the school. We ate dinner together most nights. Simple food. Rice, fish, plantains. Better than any meal at the country club. David sent his last update. Emily is working 2 jobs, living in a studio, surviving. My reply. Stop monitoring. She needs to do this alone now. May 31st, midnight. Emily started another diner shift. The holiday crowd filtering in. She tied her apron, grabbed her order pad, walked up to a table of drunk fraternity boys, the kind Michael would have partnered with. Welcome. What can I get for you? One recognized her, his voice loud with shock. Emily? Emily Carter? From the country club? She didn't flinch. That's me. Now, what can I get for you? David told me later that was the moment, serving pancakes to people she knew from her former life, that Emily stopped being my daughter and started becoming herself. June had brought the full summer heat and Emily had found her rhythm. Department store customers began requesting her specifically. She had become genuinely helpful rather than judgmental. The night shift nurses at the diner tipped her extra because she remembered their coffee preferences without asking. No sugar for Bay, extra cream for Susanna, decaf for Maria, who was trying to quit. Her coworker at the store told David that Emily had dropped from a size 10 to a size 4. Not from dieting, from work. Walking miles daily on the store floors, carrying heavy trays all night, eating only what she could afford. Her cheekbones could cut glass. but her eyes had gained something they never had before: awareness. Sundays followed a strict routine: laundry at 6 a.m. when it was empty, grocery shopping at the Asian markets on the main avenue, where produce was half the price of the expensive stores, meal prep in her tiny kitchen with the one working burner. Then, unexpectedly, the library. She had started checking out financial literacy books, taking notes in a composition notebook like a college student. June 10th, Tuesday. Emily checked her mail in the apartment building lobby. Usually bills, credit card offers for people with good credit she no longer had. This time, a cream-colored envelope with no return address. Postmarked Costa Rica. Her hands shook as she recognized my handwriting. She sat on the lobby steps. She couldn't wait to get to her apartment. 3 pages of my careful script, the same script that had signed birthday cards and checks for 35 years. The letter said, "Emily, I am writing this on a beach in Costa Rica. A little girl here reminds me of you at 7. Fearless, curious, demanding the world bend to her will. The difference is, she is also grateful. I don't blame you for becoming who you became. I created you. Every time you cried, I extended a check. Every time you demanded, I complied. I thought I was loving you. I was actually grooming you. Your mother says you are working 2 jobs now. Good. Work teaches what inheritance never can. That money represents time, effort, sacrifice. Every dollar you earn has a weight my gifts never did. I am not coming back as the man I was. That man was a checkbook with a heartbeat. But I might come back to meet the woman you are becoming. The storage key you found was your mother's insistence. She said you would need something to hold on to. The bond matures in April 2026. By then you will either have learned to live without it, or you will still be the same person waiting for a rescue. Either way, you will have your answer about who you really are. I love you. I always have. But love without respect is just pity. Earn my respect, Emily. More importantly, earn your own. P.S. Your grandmother would be proud of you working at the diner. She was a waitress when she met Grandpa. You never knew that. I was too ashamed to tell you. Now I am ashamed that I was ashamed. Emily carried that letter in her apron pocket for the next week. Her coworker at the diner said she read it on breaks, crying in the bathroom. Not angry tears, but something deeper. She started asking her coworkers about their families, their struggles, actually listening to the answers. She called Linda about the grandmother revelation. Why did no one tell me about Grandma? You never asked about anyone's struggle, only their success. What else don't I know? Everything that matters. The transformation showed in her store performance review. Emily has become our top associate. Customers trust her. She relates to people saving up for special purchases. She understands sacrifice now. They promoted her to department head. $18 an hour. The first promotion she had ever earned instead of been given. June 25th, Emily replied. 5 days. Dozens of drafts. Linda shared excerpts later. Dad, I'm writing this at 3 a.m. between jobs. My feet hurt. My back hurts. I have never been happier. Not champagne and shopping happy. I earned this sandwich happy. Customers asked for me by name happy. I paid my own rent happy. I was so angry when you left. How dare you abandon me? Now I understand you didn't abandon me. You freed me from myself, from what we both had let me become. Michael is gone. Good riddance. He was my mirror, reflecting my worst qualities. We were parasites feeding on each other's entitlement. When the host disappeared, we had nothing. I don't want your money anymore. That's not pride. I'll need the bond to eventually get a better apartment. But I want it to be seed money for the life I'm building, not a rescue from the life I'm living. Come back when you're ready. Not to save me, just to see me. The real me. The one who was buried under designer labels and demands. P.S. I kept one thing from my old life. The photo of us at my graduation. You looked so proud. I want to earn that look again. The letter reached me July 2nd. National Holiday Week. Fitting. I read it on the beach as Linda looked over my shoulder. Does she get it, Linda? Getting it and living it are different things. Give her time. How long? How long did it take you to really change? I'm still changing. Exactly. June 30th. 11 p.m. Emily starting her shift. A regular customer, an old man who always sat alone. He ordered as usual. Tonight, he said something different. "You look lighter, dear." Somehow, unburdened. Emily smiled. A real smile. I'm learning to carry my own weight, instead of expecting others to carry it for me. He left a $20 tip on an $8 bill. The note said, "For your education fund. A fellow traveler." I decided that night to go back in August. Not to rescue her. Not to test her. Just to witness who she was becoming when no one was paying her way. I landed at the airport at 10 a.m. on August 15th, 2025. The same gate I had departed from in March. 5 months felt like 5 years. Linda stayed in Costa Rica. "This is your journey to finish," she had said. The rental car was a modest sedan, not the luxury vehicle Robert Morales would have demanded. I drove past my dealerships, thriving without me. Good. I drove past Emily's old condo building, where a new family occupied her old balcony, their happiness unencumbered by debt. I checked into a simple hotel, not the luxury one, part of my new life. Comfort without excess. I called David. "I'm here. Does she know?" "No. I want to see her natural life, not a performance." "Department store. She's there until 6. At 4 p.m. I was at the department store in the mall, watching from across the floor. Emily was kneeling by an elderly woman, helping her adjust the fit of a shoe. Patient. Kind. The Emily I knew would have pawned that task off on another associate. She had changed physically. Thin but strong. Moving with purpose instead of entitlement. Her uniform was simple but neat. Hair in a ponytail. No more weekly salon visits. Her makeup-free face was beautiful in a way I had never seen. Honest. At 5:30, I walked up like any customer. "Excuse me. I'm looking for comfortable walking shoes." She turned. Froze. Her mouth opened, no words coming out. Then, quietly, "Dad." "Hello, Emily." Neither of us moved. 5 months of change suspended between us. Then she laughed. Not bitter or hysterical. Just laughed. "You're shopping at the department store. You haven't bought your own clothes in 20 years. Things change." "Yes, they do." She couldn't leave the floor, so I stayed as a customer. We talked cautiously while she showed me shoes. "You look different," I said. "I am different." Poverty is an effective diet plan. It's not poverty. It's reality. Same thing when you're used to fantasy. She rang up the shoes, applying her employee discount without my asking. Pride in small gestures. I get off at 6, then the diner at 11. "Can we have dinner between shifts? I can't afford to eat out." "I'll cook. Where do you live?" She hesitated, then gave her address. "It's not what you're used to. Neither am I anymore." At 6:30, I walked up the stairs to her studio. She had changed from her uniform into worn jeans and a t-shirt, both clean but clearly second-hand. The apartment was tiny but spotless. 1 chair, 1 stool. She gave me the chair. "It's not much," she started. "It's yours. That makes it everything." On the wall, our graduation photo. On the counter, my letter. On a small shelf, financial planning books from the library. I cooked pasta with the groceries I had. Basic but fresh. She watched me cook. Something we hadn't done together since she was 10. "Mom says you're teaching in Costa Rica. Volunteering. English to the local kids. For free? The best things I've done lately have been free." We ate at her small table with plastic plates and mismatched forks. Better than any dinner at the country club. "I hated you," she said suddenly. "I know. I mean really hated you. I wanted you dead. I know. How could you leave me with nothing? How could I have left you with everything? I was killing you. We were killing both of us." "Yeah." Silence settled. Not awkward. Necessary. At 9 p.m., she needed to get ready for the diner. I pulled out an envelope. "This isn't a rescue. It's an investment. Inside, a check for $5,000 and a contract." "What is this?" "Business proposal. You work for me. Not at the dealerships. New project. Teaching financial literacy to young adults. You know the cost of not knowing. I'm not qualified. You are uniquely qualified. You've been on both sides. Rich without understanding. Poor with an awakening." She read the contract carefully. Fair wage. No special treatment. Performance-based raises. This isn't charity, this is business. If you fail, you're fired, daughter or not. And if I succeed, then you will have succeeded. At 10:30, she had to leave for the diner. She hugged me. The first real hug in years. Not manipulation or performance. Connection. I'll call you tomorrow, after I read the contract again. Read it 3 times. That's another lesson. I'm learning. We both are. A month later, Emily accepted the position but kept her weekends at the diner for 6 months. She wanted a backup plan. Smart. Her first financial literacy workshop had 12 attendees. A year later, she was speaking at universities. 2 years later, she was writing curricula for school districts. She never touched the bond when it matured, instead using it as a down payment on a house. The cash she used came from her own savings. Michael never returned. Word was he married a wealthy widow in a tourist town. The cycle repeating. Not our problem anymore. At the holiday dinner in 2025, Emily hosted in her studio. Linda brought side dishes. I brought wine. We sat on the floor around her coffee table. Emily raised her glass of water. She was working that night. To family, to lessons learned, Linda added. To starting over, I finished. We clinked glasses, plastic and glass, perfect imperfection. The fortune I had spent my life building was nothing compared to the wealth in that small room. A daughter's respect, earned, not inherited, and the knowledge that sometimes the best gift you can give someone is the chance to save themselves. If you like this story, please like this video. Subscribe to William's Revenge Stories, and share your thoughts on this story in the comments. To hear the next story, click the box on the left. Thanks for watching.